Today Ukraine sniper brutally kills 660 Russian mercenary and on tanks at combat alert in Bakhmut. Russia again pummeled Ukraine with a barrage of cruise and other missiles on Thursday, hitting targets from east to west, including critical infrastructure. Ukrainian authorities said a 79-year-old woman was killed and at least 7 other people injured in the widespread attacks. Russian forces used a variety of missile types, firing 36 in a 2-hour overnight. First said Ukraine's military chief Valery Soluziony. Hayes said their defense batteries shot down 16 of them, a lower rate of success than against some previous Russian waves. The strikes come as questions continue to be raised over Russia's capability to prosecute a new offensive that Western officials have been issuing warnings over for weeks amid reports suggesting Moscow's forces are severely depleted, with NATO intelligence saying Russia is losing 2,000 men for every 100 yards gained. Britain's Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said Wednesday estimates suggest 97% of the whole Russian army is in Ukraine, while the International Institute for Strategic Studies, ISS said Russia has lost around half of its best battle tanks. Its Vladimir Putin launched his invasion almost 1 year ago. The think tank's Military Balance 2023 report, a highly anticipated annual Bible on countries' military sizes, offers a bleak outlook for the Kremlin at a time when Kiev is set to receive Western-built main battle tanks and other high-powered weaponry. Ukrainian authorities on Thursday said targets in the northwest SE and center of the country were struck by Russian missile attacks. They said defenses in the south of the country had downed 8-caliber missiles launched at the country from a ship in the Black Sea. But the head of Ukraine's presidential office, Andrei Yermak, said Russian forces changed their tactics for the strike, deploying what he described as active reconnaissance and false targets. He gave no further details, but Russian forces may be using the strikes to test for weak points in Ukrainian air defenses that have been strengthened by Western-supplied weapon systems and have had high rates of success against previous Russian barrages of missiles and killer drones. One of the overnight strikes caused casualties and destroyed homes in the eastern city of Pavlo Orad. The regional governor said Governor Sarai lies, except a 79-year-old woman was killed and at least 7 other people were wounded, including 2 who were later hospitalized. The strike destroyed 7 homes, damaged 30 others and sparked a fire at an industrial plant that emergency services put out. Within hours, the governor added a regional governor in western Ukraine, Maxim Kuznetsky, said a fire broke out at a critical infrastructure facility in the province of Lviv. He did not offer further details. Lviv is in the far west of Ukraine and has therefore been relatively unscathed by Russian attacks when compared to cities in the east where the fighting is heaviest. However, the city and the surrounding region has still come under fire from Russian missiles as Moscow continues in its efforts to wear down Ukraine's morale. Student was preparing to launch an all-out assault on Ukraine in an attempt to achieve the goals set out in the beginning of the war in February 2022. To overthrow the pro-Western government in Kiev and replace it with a Russian puppet administration. Questions have been raised in recent days over whether the Russian armed forces are actually able to sustain such an offensive. Britain's Defense Secretary Ben Wallace told BBC Radio 4 Today programme on Wednesday that Russian troops are suffering almost First World War levels of attrition and with success. Rates of a matter of meters in Ukraine. The trainees, who had served in tank units, attend trainings to operate on what he fears Russia's planning next, Mr. Wallace said. I think that since Joel Gerasimov was appointed as the sort of overall Ukraine commander a couple of months ago when Putin fired General Surova again, we've seen a sort of effort to advance on all fronts. However, he said, there is little evidence to suggest a force is gathering. We haven't actually seen this massive of a single force to punch through. A big offensive, just an effort to advance and that has come at a huge cost to the Russian army, he said. We now estimate 97% of the whole Russian army is in Ukraine. And to put that in perspective, that means that those tens of thousands of miles of border Russians have with obviously China, with Norway, with Finland. Imagine all those people are stuck now, Ukraine suffering very high levels of casualties. I think what Russia is doing is trying to